How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Chapter 5 of the USS Enterprise full-scale build from Polar Lights. In this episode, everyone, we are going to be putting the lights into the secondary hull as well as the shuttle bay there and discussing some things that I learned along the way. Made a couple of little mistakes there, but nothing we couldn't take care of. And that's it, everyone. That's the intro for today. It's Christmas Day where I am, so if you are seeing this on Christmas Day, Merry Christmas to you or Happy New Year. And hope everyone out there is staying warm and safe and having a wonderful holiday season. So thanks again, everybody, for all of your watches and views and subscriptions. Really do appreciate it. And now let's get on with the video. See you in a few days with Chapter 6. All right, everybody. So I am in the process here of putting in the little 0805 SMDs here on the back. And these two little guys are going to light the three lights on the bottom right underneath the shuttle bay here. So before I do that, though, I just want to point out, so yesterday I came out here and built the shuttle bay that's going to be going kind of inside here like this. I did forget to put the actual shuttle bay door on, so I did that now, so that's curing up, and that'll be good to go for tomorrow. So that was from the last segment, so I just wanted to point out that yeah, that has to go on as well. So I'm going to do my best to get this in here on the camera. So I have here the 0805 SMD. Let me put it on here. Maybe this would be, there it is. It's a little warm white one, 0805. And pick this up also from Boyd. He's got a good technique. So what we do is we have one light on each side of the ship here, and they point kind of like this way. So this one comes this way, the other one's going to go that way, and that will make sure to illuminate all the lights because they kind of span across here. So you just kind of turn them a little bit, and you put them about a quarter of the way, or a quarter inch or so in from the edge. And I'm going to try to do that here. I had it nice, and then I said, well, I got to record this. So that's about it right there, I think. So I'm just going to get a little glue on my thing there. And just set that down. Don't need too much. All right, so that's in there. And I didn't test them, so I probably should do that. But I'll do that in a second here. I can yank these off if they don't work. They'll probably work, but again, this is something you ought to do, and I do forget, so why don't we just do that now? Now, these little guys here, they're very tiny bit of wire here, so this one I kind of have to burn it off. My little tool that I use to snip off the wire bits is not good for this one. They're too small. All right, so let me give this a quick test. So there's that one here, and what I can do is I could bring these wires up. Well, they're going to have to go up anyway. Let's see here. I'll get this situated here, and then we'll come right back and explain what we did. So I'll be right back. Hey, everyone. All right, just a quick little supplemental segment here. So what you're looking at here is the shuttle bay, rather. And we need to construct this before we put it in the ship. And I'm going to show you the directions. This is all they give you. So there's 5 pieces here, and it doesn't really say how to put them together. There are some notches in here, like this back part is got these little notches, and that kind of helps align everything. But I struggled with how to start it, and like where do I begin, because you got curved pieces and you can't really gravity would be fighting you, and I didn't want to be holding this thing for 20 minutes to get the glue to set. So I came up with a good idea that worked really well. And basically what I did was I took a long piece of tape, down about like that, and then I put the roof down on there upside down. From there, I took the side pieces and aligned them just perfectly so that they were flush, and the tape served as a holding mechanism to keep them exactly where I wanted them. And once they were in position, I was able to let them kind of lay flat on the work surface area, on the work area, and put a good amount of glue and then close it up. And the tape really helped keep that shape and keep these things aligned. And then I put the floor in, which aligned pretty well. There's 4 tabs there, you can kind of see. And then from there I put the back on here, and you can see these tabs, like I was saying, sorry about this focusing, they do help keep this thing aligned pretty nicely. So that one's popping out a little bit, but it's fine. So again, this is going to set overnight and get nice and dry, because we're going to be cutting pretty much where this tape is right here at the top all the way around. We're going to be cutting that out. And the thing is, you have to assemble this before you make that cut. It's a lot easier that way. So once that comes off, then we'll be putting 2 sections of LED strip in there for a total of 6 lights that are going to go inside here, and those will help illuminate the windows on either side here of the back of the ship. So there's some other stuff we're going to do. We're going to lay down some lights here. There's like 3 little tail lights, there's a red, a green, and a yellow, I think, on the back of the ship. And so we're going to put a couple 0805 SMDs there, and they're going to be pointing out of the ship. So yeah, just a little segment there just to kind of describe that, because I had to figure that out, how I was going to do that. So hopefully this is useful to somebody. All right, see you in the next segment. Okay, everyone. So kind of made a little bit of a I wouldn't say an error, but maybe just a slight oversight. So nothing I can't handle. So I got the light glued in there just fine, and it's working. And then I'm trying to think, how to wire these up. So I've got the positive side with the resistor that's pre-built in, and then the negative, and they're very frail, thin wires. So one thing that you could do is I could solder them and connect them to the terminals here, or maybe to here on these parts. Now, the way I cut these lights, I only have just a little bit of the copper connection here on the ends, just due to the way that I cut them. And not only that, though, but my soldering skills aren't super good. So I'm a little bit nervous about, putting soldering gun here on this nice plastic, and God forbid I melt it, I drop the thing or something like that. So what I've decided to do is just make the wires extend out here to the front of the ship here, like we do everything else. Now, it does add an extra wire up here to deal with, but that's okay. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go ahead and use these helping hands that I have. I don't use them too often. Let me zoom out a little bit. And I do apologize, it's a little brighter here than usual, because I do need to see on here. Usually I have the light turned away from the camera a little bit so that it doesn't glare on you. But for this instance, I do. So I've got little helping hands. This is a great little tool you can pick up at most hobby shops, order online. HCA Model Works carries them. I don't use them a tremendous amount of time, but when I need them, when I need this thing, it's a blessing to have. So one of these days, I think I should do a like an essential tools video, or things that I find invaluable that I would recommend someone have. So anyway, got the soldering iron all heated up. So what I'm doing here, I think this is called tinning. So I'm just putting a little bit of the soldering material on on there just to kind of get it ready. And I've already pre-cut some wires here. So I've got 2 yellow and 2 blue ones. I did not pre-cut them though. Dropping stuff everywhere. All right, so I'm just gonna do these both ends here. Okay. You know, it's funny, after doing this for a while, I find these little things all over the floor. I miss my little bucket down there. Let me take off a little bit more here so I can. There we go. I got a good inch or so of wire. So I'm just going to take this. You can see here that these helping hands are really helpful. All right. The other thing before I go on, I did also pre-cut a couple pieces of the shrink tubing. This is another tremendously wonderful product. I cut 2 of them. I'll have to cut another one. We'll be making a lot of use of this when we get to the saucer section. So I'm just going to thread that through and get it ready to go. All right. So since I pre-tinned it, you know, I put some of this stuff on there ahead of time. Did a couple of things. One, when I put this heat on, it's going to remelt that and get it to stick really well. And it also gives this wire a little bit more stuff to grip on, because this stuff goes on kind of chunky. All right. Another thing, if you're new to doing this, you haven't done a lot of soldering. When you do that, this heat from this, it's extremely hot, and you'll find out eventually that heat will travel and make all of the wire hot. So even when you're touching it here, you're gonna feel it here. So you got to be very careful about touching this and giving it a second to cool. So, all right, I got the shrink tubing there. It's also a good idea to make sure you kind of put that stuff on ahead of time so it's ready. Okay, and that's on there. So now I'm no risk of connection, or no risk of this connecting to something else, and it's sticking out there. And I'll come through after filming this and just secure that down with the CA glue, which I've done. You can see to all the wires here. We'll talk a little bit about that if I haven't already. I talk about a lot of stuff repeatedly, but I think it's stuff that bears repeating. All right, this one's going to be a little more difficult because the positive side had that nice solid wire to grip on. This thing is very frail. So we'll try to do the same thing here. Not really working. Well, I didn't think it would, but it was worth a shot. So, all right, just gonna wrap this around as tightly as I can. Where'd it go? It would have been better if I'd have done this ahead of time. So on the next one, I haven't done the starboard side, or port side rather. I think this is starboard. The other side of the ship. Haven't got to that part yet. But what I'll do is I will connect these wires before I secure it down into there. That way I won't have to risk yanking this around. Again, it's just something I kind of discovered. Let me cut a little more shrink tubing. I did cut one. I don't know where it went though. There it is. Yeah. Sorry about getting my arm in the shot there. All right, let's feed this sucker in there. And give this a little trim. All right, so it's connected. It's wrapped around pretty tight. You know what, I'm gonna redo it. All right. My eyes aren't good at all, so I've got fumbly hands. If I wrap it around this way, yeah, there we go. That's a little easier. Okay, so that's being held. I think I can use this other one here. Yeah, there we go. So now it's holding on both. And I can really get this stuff. There we go. Now we're getting a nice bead. Kind of slopped on there. Okay. And I try not to let it glob too thickly because I have to remember to leave enough space for this shrink tubing. The shrink tubing will help to keep this from splitting as well. And do that. There. Get the lighter. Gotta be careful also with this thin wire. I've seen my soldering iron and the lighter actually melt it. So you don't want to keep that exposed to too much heat for too long. All right, everyone. So that's that for here. So I've got these things really long. And they're coming out here to the end. So what I'm going to do here is just secure this down with my CA glue. Just get them out of the way. That one took a little bit longer than I wanted, but anyway, you can see what we've done here. So we've got the SMD here. Oh, the other thing I did was, just in case, I did take the grinding disc on my Dremel here, and I grinded out a little piece here. There's a bit of piece of plastic. There is some. Let's see if I can get it on the camera. Right there. So there's this little bit here that the shuttle bay is going to go into. So it's going to go kind of like this. And I was a little bit concerned about pinching the wire because this is going to get glued in there and pushed in. So what I did was I just dug a little channel out right here for the wire to set down in. And I don't think it's necessary, but I did that just in case. So a little bit of precaution there couldn't hurt. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to pause the video here. I'm basically going to go do the same process here that I did here for the port side. And but this time I'll make sure, and then I put these extensions on before I glue it in. So that way I won't have to worry about pulling this around with it. So we'll be right back, and we'll talk about what's happening next. Hey folks, all right, another little supplemental segment here. What you're looking at right here is something I almost forgot about. So on the side of the ship, there are two strobe lights that blink, and I'll show you on the other one. It's these right here. They're like the ion pods, if you remember the episode Court Martial. That's what the ion pods are, and those are kind of have a strobe effect. So there's a little piece that there's a light that goes in there. There's a hole, and you put the plastic window thing in there, and then you put an SMD inside of it. So since it's going to be strobing, we have to really light block that part extremely well. So what you're looking at here is just a big gob of Tamiya, not Tamiya, of the perfect plastic putty. Right here, this stuff, these big globs of that. I just kind of squirted it in there and let it go until I didn't see the light leaking through anymore. And then what I'll do is, just to be on the safe side, come through and paint that black when it dries. Do that tomorrow. So to test it, I turned on the lights and just kind of put it down till it kind of disappeared, and then I'll again just hit it with black. It looks really ugly and messy, but no one's going to see it, so it can be how it is. The only thing I had to be careful with, there's a group of windows here that goes there, and I have to make sure that it's flat for the shuttle bay to go inside. So I'm going to give that a test fit before I shut it down for the night here. As you can see here, our warm white SMDs are glowing really nicely. And the light that's in here, that is a white light. So it's white. You can see the difference. So there's a white, and these are warm white. So there's a good visualization of how different they are. So that is the ion pod that's going to be blinking. It looks nice. We don't have any light leaks coming through. All right. Sorry about the shaky camera work here, everyone. So, yeah, I just wanted to document that to let you know, to not forget that. So I did end up having to solder up a couple more extension wires that go through here, and I try to keep them out of the way and keep them as nice and tidy as possible. And I think it's a pretty good job here, considering how I usually do it. But there we go. All right, we'll catch you in the next segment, everybody. All right, everyone. So the shuttle bay is all ready to go now and proceed with some more light blocking. So we're going to be light blocking the outside of this and a little bit on the inside there. And you'll notice here that the roof and these two walls are gone now. So I just did that with the Dremel tool with a little cutting disc and carefully cut that away, and then just sliced off this part. So that gives us room to put down 2 LED strips, a set of 3 on each side here, and that will help illuminate the windows on the side of the ship on the back, as well as the lights that are on the top that we talked about earlier. And then finally we're going to be laying down an 0805 real small SMD right here facing down, and if you look here, you'll see that there is a little bit of a window right there, and so that light's going to come through here and shine there. So we're going to have to mask this before we light block it. But before we do that, forgive my stuffy nose, folks. I don't know what's going on. A little allergies happening right now. So before we go forward with that, I'm going to lay down some glue on the inside of this here, because there's a little bit of a seam between the shuttle bay door and the floor of this thing, and I'll put my flashlight here so you can kind of see that. And you, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but right where the seam is, I can definitely see a light leak. Now I know it's illuminating through the plastic itself like this. That'll be taken care of with the light blocking, but we have this little seam that's a light leak that we have to correct. So what we're going to do is lay down some CA glue in there, in the seam down in there, and then just use a brush and paint that black, and that way it'll help eliminate much of a light leak. So I finally did clear out the nozzle here of the glue, which I'm happy about. So I'm just gonna lay this a good amount here, if I could see it. May end up having to do a little putty work, I don't know. I'm just kind of letting it get in there. Let me get a little flashlight. Oh yeah, that's plenty. So I'm going to get the accelerator here, and that should firm it up really quick. I broke the top of my cap there, or my the lid to that thing. Okay, that should set up very, very quickly, and then when that dries, I'll take this over and give it a few coats, 2 coats at least of the light blocking, give it a test and all that like we've done before. I'm going to shoot some inside there, and then as well as outside, and then do the old light test there, and then that's it. I'll come back after that's all done, and we'll show what it looks like with the lights on there and what we're talking about. So see you in a second. All right, just a quick little supplemental segment here. So what you're looking at here is the shuttle bay, rather. And we need to construct this before we put it in the ship. And I'm going to show you the directions. This is all they give you. So there's 5 pieces here, and it doesn't really say how to put them together. There are some notches in here, like this back part is got these little notches, and that kind of helps align everything. But I struggled with how to start it, and you know, like where do I begin, because you got a curved pieces and you can't really, you know, gravity would be fighting you, and I didn't want to be holding this thing for 20 minutes to get the glue to set. So I came up with a good idea that worked really well. And basically what I did was I took a long piece of tape, down like about like that, and then I put the roof down on there upside down. From there, I took the side pieces and aligned them just perfectly so that they were flush, and the tape served as a holding mechanism to keep them exactly where I wanted them. And once they were in position, I was able to let them kind of lay flat on the work surface area, on the work area, and put a good amount of glue and then close it up. And the tape really helped keep that shape and keep these things aligned. And then I put the floor in, which aligned pretty well. There's 4 tabs there, you can kind of see. And then from there I put the back on here, and you can see these tabs. Like I was saying, sorry about this focusing. They do help keep this thing aligned pretty nicely. So that one's popping out a little bit, but it's fine. So again, this is going to set overnight and get nice and dry, because we're going to be cutting pretty much where this tape is right here at the top all the way around. We're going to be cutting that out. And the thing is, you have to assemble this before you make that cut. It's a lot easier that way. So once that comes off, then we'll be putting 2 sections of LED strip in there for a total of 6 lights that are going to go inside here, and those will help illuminate the windows on either side here of the back of the ship. So there's some other stuff we're going to do. We're going to lay down some lights here. There's like 3 little tail lights, a red, a green, and a yellow, I think, on the back of the ship. And so we're going to put a couple 0805 SMDs there, and they're going to be pointing out of the ship. So yeah, just a little segment there just to kind of describe that, because I had to figure that out, how I was going to do that. So hopefully this is useful to somebody. All right, see you in the next segment. Okay, everyone. So a little bit of a mix-up happened here. So I was on a second take of putting the shuttle bay here and gluing it into the starboard side when my water filtration system decided to do its nightly flush, and it's extremely loud. So I lost a couple of minutes there, and I didn't get to record what I was doing here. So yeah, so that's in there. There's a little, little. Maybe I could show it on this one. Right here, there we go. Right there, there's this little square kind of protrusion of styrene that comes out of there. Now that is where the shuttle bay rests against. It just kind of goes against that. So that's where I glued it in. And then along the inside here, I just put a little bit more CA glue and then hit it with the accelerant to get it secure. So that's in there, and I did put the ship together this way to check it's a nice tight fit. And the good news is that little idea I had about putting the let me zoom out a little bit more here. That little clear piece here worked out just fine. It didn't get in the way over here, so good to go there. Tested all the wires, everything lights up and everything, so that's good. Now we are ready here to go ahead and put the nacelle pylons in, or struts, whatever we're going to call it. Now, before I do that, you'll see here there's a little bit of a pink stuff on here. This is a putty that I put on, and I picked this up at Walmart. Again, shout out to Boyd at Trekworks. He uses this. It's a Bondo spot glazing putty, or glazing spot putty. It's like red stuff. It's very thick, but it's intended for very small gaps. You don't want to fill very large gaps with this stuff, but it's really good for getting into very small seams, so the seam work is good. And I got to tell you, it sanded away really quickly. I let it dry overnight. I just put it over here on the where the seam was, because these are 2 pieces, and spread it out with my palette knife that I got here. That's a painter's palette knife, and just kind of went like that, and then got a paper towel and wiped off the excess. Sorry, let it dry overnight, and then just a little while ago I took the 180 grit sanding disc. Here it's just some sandpaper from an orbital sander, you can use anything, and just chip that down a little bit, and then I went with a very fine sandpaper. This is probably more in the 320 range, maybe 400, and just gave that a nice smooth finish like this, and it came right off, and you can see the putty here where it stayed in the gap, and so it's kind of doing its job. So I'm going to get a little bit more off of that. I don't need that much. And there's a fly. This fly has been in here for a couple of days, and it's just having a fun time landing on my head when I'm out here. There we go. For some reason, this fall has seen a lot of flies in the neighborhood. Don't know why. They wouldn't answer me when I asked. All right, so there's that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put these into the sides of the ship here. Now, I think I have to figure out which one is which, so I'm going to do that off camera and figure it out. But before I do that, again, you want to make sure all this stuff is real clean and everything. And another tip that I had picked up is, and I did try dry fit these in there. They go in super tight. You're not going to have any problem with these things wobbling around. But what you might want to do is just take some sandpaper and kind of round these corners out a little bit. Just kind of going back and forth like this on all the corners. Not too much. You don't want to knock away too much of this stuff. But that kind of rounds it and makes it a little bit easier to kind of get this thing started of getting it in there. And you're not going to lose any stability by doing that. It just makes inserting this a little bit easier. And then you also want to make sure that you clear away any glue that had come out the sides, which I did. I took the sandpaper and just smoothed this out. And there we go. So we're going to use a lot of glue. We're going to use the modeling glue, and I'm going to get it really deep in there. I don't want any of it popping out here. So let me figure out which of these is which. I know it does matter, because if you look here, there's a slight angle to the plastic. So like this little line here is not perpendicular, or I'm sorry, is not parallel to this line. It's at a little angle, so it does matter. I have it upside down. This is the side that goes down here. So I'll figure out which one's which, and then we'll get those glued. And then when that dries, we can stick the wires through, and we'll get the wiring through here set up to go out from here up through the pylon, and then we can wire the nacelles later. So that's how we do that. All right, folks, I will return in a moment when I figure out which of these is which, and then we'll glue them on, and we'll keep them progress here. That's in there, really solid. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to put that in over here. We'll glue on here. And there we go. Okay, so we'll let this dry, and we'll be back on the next segment. Okay, we're all set up and ready to glue the neck into here. But before we do that, I've got here a little cotton swab, cotton bud, and some isopropyl alcohol that I have dipped into this. So this is something I'm going to start doing from this point on in the model when we start to glue, especially the big pieces, everyone. So not only do I want to make sure that all this is clear of paint, which we did painstakingly. It was a lot of work. What I'm doing here is I'm just wiping down the surface area with some of this ISP. It's 91% rubbing alcohol, just to clean any of the oils and things that I've deposited on here, because I've been handling these things a lot and just touching them. And I want to make sure, especially for this part, this neck, And then the saucer, when we end up putting it up here, then I want this as clean as possible. I want all the oil gone, dust and debris. I want the nicest fit that we can have. So I'm going to do that. And you can see here, I have indeed picked up a little bit of smudge, some stuff. So I'm going to do that. And then I've got this canned air. Just to help dry it off more quickly and to blow any dust or debris that we have on there and get a little bit there. So now I know this is clean. So when we get further into the process, everyone, I'll be doing that. I'll be wiping down the areas to be painted here with some ISP just to clean it off and that. And then I might even start wearing some gloves after we paint it and doing some stuff like with applying the decals and stuff like that. So anyway, so I'm going through and I'm just putting in a nice amount of glue on all the surfaces here. Now I don't want too much coming up. I don't want it to squirting out of the top if I can help it. I'm just putting a little bit there. All right. And let's put a little bit here. Not too much. Okay. Now this mono glue is pretty nice. You don't have to put it on immediately. In fact, I know some people actually kind of let this stuff dry a little bit and get a little bit tacky. Excuse me, I took a drink. Get a little bit tacky there so that it sticks a little more quickly. So I'm not really doing that. I just want to make sure that my wire here isn't going to come into contact with any of this glue. There we go. This part's exciting. Okay, so I'm going to hold that. Now I pre-pulled or prepped a piece of tape because I don't have clamps. I don't like, generally don't like to use clamps. And I'm just going to take this piece of tape, making sure this is secure. Oh, gotta hold that down more tightly. Okay, here we go. Get that down in there. Okay, so let me grab a tool or something here and just rub that in so it gets a nice bond. All right, so that is being held on by the tape pretty nicely. I can let it go and it's there. And I'm just going to come over to this side and just make sure that I don't have any glue popping out that I'm going to have to wipe off. It looks nice. All right. Wow, this is cool. I didn't think I'd be this excited. I'm excited in certain stages when I do a model. And usually it's when you finish painting one or you're done with the decals. But this is kind of cool for me. It's like it's feeling like she's coming together. So kind of hard to convey. Hopefully out there you know what I'm talking about. All right. So that's good. We're just about ready. Once this dries, I'm going to let this dry overnight and come back in the morning and check on it. And when that's done, I'll go ahead and put the port side on, and we'll have what looks like a ship, and that'll be good. So just from experience, so just to kind of give you a little preview here, when we put this thing together, the front end up here is going to go together real nice. The back end is going to kind of split a little bit wider. Now, I don't know if that's because of the shuttle bay. It probably is something to do with that it kind of tends to push it apart a little bit, so we're going to have a lot of tape ready, a lot of glue back here. The spine's going to have a lot of glue up and down here. We want it squirting out, so we'll sand all that down, but we want to fill that whole gap with glue. It'll make the putty work a lot easier, and it'll make a nice secure bond. And then we'll get a lot of tape here and put that over, and it'll go really well. The putty work turned out really nice here. I'm happy about that. I wasn't happy about having to do it, but that putty worked good. The seams are all gone. We're rolling, everyone. So this is where things start to happen. So, all right. So that's going to be put together, and then we will turn our attention in the next segment after this one. We're going to glue this part together tomorrow. I'll record that one. And then we're going to put the secondary hull off to the side, and we're going to finally start working on the saucer section. So I've kind of got that prepped a little bit. Most of the windows are in, and we're just going to do all the wiring on there. So we're going to talk about the wiring scheme and decisions that we're making there, putting in the nav board and such, and then we'll just keep on moving, everybody. So thank you again. I'm going to end the video here, and we will, we're going to end the segment here, come back and talk a little bit more about and finish up with the secondary hull. One last item here before I go, everyone. If you see here, there's this little red mark on my finger. That, my friends, is courtesy of our friendly soldering iron. I had it off to the side, and I reached over for something, and I had forgotten that it was there, and I burned myself something pretty good. It took a couple of days, and then it scabbed, and then every time I hit it, it starts to bleed. So I left it there purposely so that I could talk about it, and I know it's a little bit unsightly, so I do apologize. But please, everyone, be careful. I've been doing this a lot, but you can never, ever be too careful. Be safe, be cautious, wear your eye protection, ventilate your work areas, and be careful where you put hot stuff, and you'll be around to model for a long time. All right, PSA over. We'll catch you in a second here for you. For me, it'll be overnight, where I come back tomorrow morning, and we'll glue this up together and get to the next step. A lot of fun stuff coming. See you soon, everyone.